Hello. This is a video response to a series of comments made on one of my videos by a user called ThatOneTrueQuestion. I think that's right, is it? It was obvious when I started reading through these comments that you don't have a great appreciation of metaphor and simile, which is, my bad. Assume too much. And going further into it, your expression of seeming contempt for philosophers couldn't help but make me think, well, that would be why then. Okay, well, there you go. So I'm going to forego all that and skip to a comment you made to another user that said something about science and religion going hand in hand or whatever, and and you're questioning him on that and saying, oh, that's a minority. There is a long-standing, well-established tradition in Anglo-Christian culture and European Christian culture generally of deferring to science. Just most recently, a former Archbishop of the Anglican Communion, when she was Archbishop of the Anglican Communion in America, I can't remember her name for the life of me, but she's an interesting person. She was a scientist for most of her life as a layperson. Then she went to the church and became an Archbishop of the Anglican Communion in America. It's hard to get any more Christian than that, isn't it? And she was asked once, well, what do you think about the theory of evolution? And she said, well, I believe it's a well-established scientific principle that I happen to ascribe to. And when the interviewer asked her, well, doesn't that contradict the doctrine of the church? And she said, Jesus came to take away our sins, not our minds. Which, I don't care which you believe. That's funny. St. Augustine, by all accounts, a Christian, a saint, much more Christian than that, once again, said he didn't believe in a literal interpretation of Genesis, and that where church doctrine and science contradicted each other, that it was not only prudent, but wise to defer to science. The thing is there's what people say they believe, and then there's what they do. People might say they don't believe in the theory of evolution, but if you get a flu shot, you believe in the theory of evolution. And if you know what that means, good on you. And if you don't, you need to study some more science before you think you're going to come and tell me about science. But I think in some ways what that commenter was alluding to was deism. Because deists believe that science is the ultimate evidence of God. That the fact that there are these principles that we can discover and we can utilize to make technology that makes the world a better place for us to live in. My God! Literally. Thomas Paine's Age of Reason, basically, that book rips the Bible apart and talks about how stupid it is and it's a bunch of fairy stories. I think you should read it. You would like it. But the funny thing is he does that to say that you don't need a bunch of fairy stories to believe in God because science, man. I would say a better metaphor for the deist view of God and science is that God and science go hand in glove. That there's this, and this is a metaphor, so try and come with me on this, okay? In this metaphor, the hand is like the invisible hand of God acting in the world, and the science that we build our understanding of how the universe functions, that's defining. It's like we're building a glove around an invisible hand. Now, it's a metaphor. There's no literal hand. And there's no literal glove. Okay? It's a fucking metaphor. And that's the thing about that. Now, what I say all that to say is that disproving the Bible does not disprove God. That's specious reasoning at best. You don't need to believe in the Bible to believe in God. In fact, there are people that believe in a God or gods and have for centuries that didn't have a Bible and never heard of the Bible. Okay, so that's complete kind of but horseshit right there. I guess I'm naturally skeptical of anybody who tends to speak in absolutes. And if you're going to tell me that you can absolutely prove that there's no God, I'm sorry, but I'm going to be a bit skeptical. And I got to tell you, from reading your comments, I can tell that you have not given this nearly the time and careful consideration that I have. You know, and your tone, you know, I'm not a particularly religious person, so it didn't bother me. But if you're really trying to convince people of your point of view, I'd alter your tone. Don't come off like you're telling them they're stupid, because they're not gonna, they're immediately gonna be like, well, fuck you, and put up a defensive wall, and I don't think that's what you want, is it? Now you want people to, that's why humor is the ultimate social lubricant. If you can make a good point in a humorous way, they may not agree with you, but they're going to keep it in their head, and that seed might grow to a different understanding, more in line with what you're thinking they should be thinking. If you hear what I'm saying. So in a lot of ways, this is just sort of a critique of your comments, and I don't know. The whole thing is if anybody knew and it was irrefutable, there would be no disagreement. My reading of books like the Bible or the Epic of Gilgamesh or the Labors of Hercules, for that matter, I don't ask the same questions, that religious people ask, or other people that, is because I don't think any of these things prove the existence of metaphysical consciousness, or disprove it, for that matter. See, that's the problem one of the problems I have with your argument is, you disprove the Bible, then therefore there's no God. And it's ridiculous. The Bible doesn't prove anything. The Bible doesn't prove there is a God. The Bible doesn't prove there isn't a God. So, what good is the Bible? Well, the Bible is a cultural record. It's of what some people, when I read stuff like that, I ask different questions. The questions I ask are, who were these people? Who are these people? Who was their audience? Who were they writing it for? And what did they hope to achieve?